CES is literally around the corner, and this past December, I got invited into ASUS's New York preview event where I saw their full 2026 lineup in person. There were a ton of cool products, just way too many for one video, so instead, I'm narrowing this down to my top 5 ASUS products that I think are genuinely worth watching for and saving up for this year. Rising tech prices be damned. Anyways, let's get into it. We're starting with the most relevant product for this channel. The TUF Gaming A14 is something that I've wanted ever since Strix Halo was first revealed. A 14-inch gaming laptop with no dedicated graphics card, powered entirely by AMD's APU. And here's the key detail we learned in New York. This laptop is using the Ryzen AI 388, not the flagship 395. That means you get 8 CPU cores instead of 16, but more importantly, still the full 40 CU RDNA 3.5i GPU. And my friends, that is the sweet spot. You get insane GPU compatibility without nuking battery life, thermals, or cost, hopefully. And this is exactly the silicon configuration I want to see in future Strix Halo handhelds. And ASUS pushing it first just reinforces why they stay top tier among OEMs. Now, no, it won't beat a modern low-end graphics card like a 5060 or something, but at the right price, this thing could absolutely dominate on price to performance alone. If ASUS lands this aggressively, this could be one of the most important laptops of 2026 for the general gaming market, a true lifeline in these trying times. Next up is the ZenBook S14, and honestly, this could be the sleeper hit of the entire show, guys. The ZenBook line is criminally undercovered, despite being the closest Windows equivalent to a MacBook. And this year, ASUS isn't just chasing build quality, they're swinging for the silicon crown. This machine is powered by Intel Panther Lake, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this feels like it could be Intel's Zen 2 moment. It's a big deal, all right? We're looking at a new architecture, massively improved efficiency, and a real proper next-gen iGPU from them. And the most important detail, Panther Lake's compute tile is fabbed on Intel 18A, not TSMC. Early data shows it competing and in some cases beating TSMC N3 in performance per watt, which is a huge milestone for Intel. Once I get a review sample in, I'm gonna do a more technical deep dive, though if I'm being honest, you'll probably have the opportunity to buy something before I get any samples in. Intel's lineup is pretty large and with a lot of confusing names. All Panther Lake is not created equal. The chips you want to watch for specifically are these ones. From highest bin to lowest, they are the Core Ultra X9 388H, the X7 36H, and the X7 35H. These chips get you the full Panther Lake experience, 16 CPU cores, and the full 12 Xe3 GPU cores. If you care about mobile performance, thin-in lights, or future handheld silicon, do not sleep on this laptop or these chips. You're gonna see them again. Trust me on that. All right, this one's personal for me. The ZenBook A14 is still my favorite laptop chassis of 2025, and yes, I am biased. It was the first ASUS review unit I ever received, and it's been my daily driver for nearly a year. It's just got so many great positives. It's ultra light, has actual all-day battery life, and that wonderful OLED display. I'm sorry guys, I can't help myself. I'm an OLED fiend. So seeing ASUS refresh it with Qualcomm's new X2 chips honestly feels like I'm being a bit spoiled. Now, I've been critical of Windows on ARM in the past, and fairly so, but the platform has matured a lot. If you just need a thin and light for writing, editing, travel, and general productivity, this is now an easy recommendation for me, especially as Gen 1 models have been going on fire sale. I'll be using my A14 at CES for editing, note-taking, and floor coverage, something that would have been unrealistic a year ago. This kind of snuck up on me, but the A14 line is legitimately now a viable MacBook Air alternative, and a genuinely good one at that. And for those new to the channel, it may sound like I'm doing some expert shilling here, but no, I'm not affiliated with ASUS. There's no kickbacks or extra monies for me. I just really love this machine. Next up is another machine that I really adore, and that's the TUF T500 mini desktop. I reviewed this earlier in the year and ended up loving it, so much so that it's been my only desktop ever since. And this is not like one of those long-term review excuses or whatever, this is actually my daily driver right now. Originally, the top-end configuration felt pricey, which was definitely fair criticism at the time. But with RAM prices and the GPU pricing doing whatever it is now, the TUF T500 suddenly looks very competitive. And here's the big surprise. ASUS is adding an AMD edition. You'll be able to get a Ryzen 7 260, which is a refresh of the 8840U. That's 8 Zen 4 cores and 16 threads with a 45-watt TDP. They're pairing this with either an RTX 50 series GPU or up to a Radeon 9060 XT. To put things in perspective, that CPU alone is a monster, and yes, it's actually stronger than the Intel chip in my current unit. If you want a compact gaming desktop without paying boutique builder prices, I strongly urge you to keep your eye on this one. Lastly, and yes, this is a bit self-indulgent, but we have the ExpertBook Ultra. This is technically a business laptop, but it checks every box that I care about. Top-end Panther Lake, a haptic trackpad, a stunning 3K tandem OLED panel, excellent keyboard, and under 1 kilogram for its weight. That's basically A14 weight with way more performance. In New York, this thing felt unreal, like some advanced tech left by a time traveler. And if battery life holds up like ASUS claims, this might genuinely be the king of thin and light laptops. And I really hope it is, I really do. But all gushing aside, that's gonna be it for me. This is just a slice of what ASUS is bringing to CES, and now that embargoes are lifted, I wanted to get these thoughts out before the floodgates open. You all know I love handhelds, but laptops matter just as much. They're where the silicon is deployed first and what eventually trickles down in the handhelds we obsess over. They may be separate product classes, but they all fall under the mobility branch, which is why we need to pay very close attention to them. So if you don't want to miss the rapidly developing world of mobile silicon, then make sure you're subscribed because, yes, I'm about to spam your feed. Sorry, not sorry. You know how it is, it's January. Though, this has been the Silicon Fox, and I will see you all on the show floor in like a day from now. I'm signing off and saying ciao.